The teacher smiled. She had heard the question before. Everyone asked it eventually. We are peaceful. We have been for 50 years. But we're peaceful because we can choose to be, not because we must be. That's the difference. What if someone attacks us again? Another student asked. The teacher looked out the window at the ships in orbit. They were sleeker now, more advanced, but still just as deadly. Then we'll remind them why humanity is not to be pushed too far. But I don't think anyone will. Because everyone remembers. Remembers what? The day the mask dropped, the teacher said. The day the galaxy learned what humanity truly is. We're not conquerors. We're not pacifists. We're survivors. And survivors do whatever it takes to protect their own. She pulled up the final image of her lesson, the memorial chamber on Council Station, 2.3 million names carved in black stone. The students fell silent as they always did when seeing it. These people died because we forgot to be prepared, the teacher said softly, because we trusted too much and defended too little. We won't make that mistake again. Not because we want war, but because we remember the cost of being unprepared for it. One student raised her hand. Ms. Patterson, my grandfather says he knew someone who died on New Eden. He says we should never forget what happened. Your grandfather is right, Ms. Patterson said. We should never forget. Not because we want revenge, but because we need to remember why we built all those ships, why we train all those soldiers, why we stay vigilant even during peace. New Eden is our reminder of what happens when we stop paying attention. The lesson ended and the students filed out, heading to lunch and games and normal teenage concerns. Ms. Patterson watched them go, knowing they lived in a safer galaxy than she had grown up in, a galaxy where humanity's strength kept the peace. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patrols. On Council Station, human diplomats negotiated trade deals and mediated disputes. On Earth and her 73 colony worlds, people lived their lives, raised families, pursued dreams, and above it all, in orbit around every human world and watching over Council Station, warships kept vigil, silent reminders of what humanity could be if pushed too far. The mask had dropped 50 years ago. The galaxy had seen what lay beneath, and the galaxy had learned to respect it. Humanity was no longer the naive newcomer seeking acceptance. They were the guardians, the enforcers, the species that would protect the weak and punish the strong. They were feared and trusted in equal measure. And perhaps most importantly, they had proven that a species could be both peaceful and powerful, that choosing peace didn't mean accepting weakness. The galaxy learned 3 lessons that year, and 50 years later, those lessons still held true. First, humanity's peace was not weakness. It was a choice. Second, a species that nearly destroyed itself makes a terrifying enemy. Third, there are worse things than humanity at peace, like humanity at war. And so the galaxy thrived, protected by beings who had learned the hard way that peace requires strength, that civilization requires guardians, and that sometimes the price of security is eternal vigilance. New Eden's 2.3 million dead were never forgotten. Their names stood on Council Station as a permanent reminder. A reminder of what was lost. A reminder of why humanity would never again be defenseless. A reminder of the day humanity dropped the mask and showed the galaxy what they truly were. Not monsters. Not conquerors. Just humans, trying their best to be better than they had been, while staying prepared to become what they needed to be. And in the end, that was enough. The war room on Sanctum Prime was silent except for the low hum of the holographic displays. Supreme Chancellor Virasol stood at the center of the massive chamber, her crystalline body reflecting the red warning lights that flashed across every surface. Around her, representatives from dozens of species waited for her to speak. They all knew why they were here. They were losing the war. Virasol looked at the numbers floating in front of her. 300 years of war. 300 years of death and destruction. The Devourers had taken 40% of Council territory. Every week, more systems fell. Every month, more billions died. She touched a control panel and the hologram changed. Now it showed the current battle lines. Red for Devourer territory. Blue for the Council. There was far too much red. We are losing 2 to 3 systems every cycle, Virasol said. Her voice was steady, but everyone in the room could hear the weight behind her words. At this rate, we have perhaps 50 years before the Devourers reach the core worlds. A massive amphibious figure shifted in the shadows. General Takmar of the Koltari stepped forward. His people had lost 3 worlds in the past year alone. 50 years is too generous, he said, his voice a deep rumble. They adapt faster than we can create new weapons. Every defense we build, they break through within months. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Devourers were not like other enemies. They were a hive mind, a single consciousness spread across trillions of insect bodies. They learned from every battle. They evolved with terrifying speed, and they consumed everything in their path. Virasol nodded slowly. That is why I have called you here today. We have one option left. It is dangerous. It is desperate. But it may be our only hope. She gestured to a figure made of swirling gas. Scholar Kestin of the Thren floated forward. He had been researching ancient records for months, looking for anything that might help them. His gaseous form pulsed with nervous energy. I have found something, Kestin said. His voice sounded like wind through canyon walls. In the Precursor archives, records that are 50,000 years old, the Precursors, everyone knew that name. They were the ancient civilization that had come before. They had built wonders across the galaxy. Then one day they simply vanished. No one knew why. No one knew where they went. Kestin continued. The records speak of something called the Rift. It is a tear in space itself, located in the outer rim. The Precursors sealed it long ago. They locked something away on the other side. What did they lock away? Asked a council member, a small flying creature from the Valar homeworld. The records do not say exactly, Kestin admitted. But there are warnings. Many warnings. The Precursors were afraid of whatever is beyond that seal. They called it dangerous. They called it uncontrollable. General Thokmar stepped closer. And you want to open it? To release something that scared the Precursors themselves? Virasol raised one crystalline hand. Not release. We want to use the rift's energy. The spatial distortion produces massive amounts of power. We can weaponize it. Create a barrier that even the Devourers cannot cross. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some thought the plan was brilliant. Others thought it was suicide. But all of them knew they were running out of options. Virasol was about to call for a vote when the alarms began to scream. Red lights flooded the chamber. The holographic display changed without anyone touching the controls. It showed the inner defense grid around Sanctum Prime. And it showed the grid breaking apart. Devourer forces have breached the inner perimeter, a tactical officer reported, her voice shaking. 15 fleets. They are heading directly for Sanctum Prime. The fortress world. The last stronghold. The Devourers had never come this close before. General Thokmar was already moving toward the command stations. How long do we have? 4 hours. Maybe 5. 4 hours. Not days, not weeks. 4 hours until the Devourers reached the heart of council space. Virasol made her decision in seconds. Mobilize every available ship. Evacuate non-combat personnel. And get me a direct line to our forces near the rift. Kestin's gaseous form pulsed rapidly. Chancellor, if we attempt to weaponize the rift now without proper preparation, the results could be catastrophic. We do not know what might happen. We know exactly what will happen if we do nothing, Virasol replied. The Devourers will destroy us all. Send the orders. We use the rift weapon. It is our only chance. As the council chamber descended into organized chaos, Kestin returned to his station. His equipment was designed to monitor energy signatures across the galaxy. He had been tracking the rift for weeks, studying its patterns. But now something was wrong. The readings from the rift sector were going crazy. Energy levels were spiking far beyond anything he had ever seen. The spatial distortion was growing, expanding. Chancellor, Kestin called out. The rift! Something is happening. Virasol rushed to his station. What do you mean? Did our forces reach it already? No. Kestin's voice was barely a whisper. We did not cause this. The rift is opening on its own. The holographic display showed the rift sector. In real time, they watched as the ancient seal began to crack. 50,000 years of precursor engineering was breaking apart. Energy output is exceeding all known scales, Kestin reported. Space itself is tearing open. Whatever the precursors locked away, it is coming through. General Thokmar stared at the display. Chancellor, we have devourer fleets coming from one direction and an unknown threat emerging from the rift. We cannot fight on 2 fronts. Virasol felt her crystalline structure growing cold. This was it, the end of everything. 300 years of war, only to be destroyed by something even worse. Chancellor, a communications officer spoke up. We are receiving long-range sensor data from the Rift sector. Ships are coming through, thousands of them. Devourer ships? Thokmar asked. No, sir. The design is completely unknown. Not in any of our databases. Not Devourer. Not Council. Not anything we have ever seen before. The main hologram updated. It showed the ships emerging from the Rift. They were massive, angular, built for war, and there were tens of thousands of them. Formation analysis, Virasol ordered. Perfect military formation, the tactical officer replied. Precise to the centimeter. This is not a random fleet. This is an armada. Keston was working frantically at his station. Energy signatures are off the scale. A single one of those ships produces more power than our entire defense fleet combined. Are they hostile? Someone asked. We have to assume they are, General Thokmar said. The precursors sealed them away for a reason. Prepare all weapons. If they make any aggressive move, we fire. But the unknown fleet did not move. They held their formation, neither advancing nor retreating. Just waiting. Communications, Virasol said. Are they transmitting anything? Yes, Chancellor. Multiple broadcasts on all frequencies. The language is unknown. Translation algorithms are working on it now. Kesathin plugged his systems directly into the translation network. His species was good at patterns, good at languages. He studied the alien transmissions. I have something, he said after a moment. One word keeps repeating. The algorithms have a partial translation. The word is humanity. Humanity? Virasol had never heard that word before. What does it mean? Before Kesathin could answer, every alarm in the war room began screaming at once. The holographic display showed the Devourer fleets. They had detected the new arrivals, and they were doing something impossible. They were retreating. All 15 Devourer fleets turned away from Sanctum Prime. They were not just pulling back. They were running, fleeing at maximum speed. That is impossible, General Thokmar said. The Devourers do not retreat. They have never retreated, not in 300 years. They are broadcasting, the communications officer said. Chancellor, you need to hear this. The hive mind's voice filled the chamber. For the first time in recorded history, the Devourers were sending a message that was not a threat. It was a warning. The sealed ones have returned. Genetic memory confirms retreat, 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 the sealed ones, whatever that meant. It terrified the Devourers more than anything else in the galaxy. Across all Council space, Devourer forces began a full withdrawal. Ships that had been sieging worlds for years suddenly broke off their attacks. Invasion forces retreated. Battle lines collapsed. The war room was silent. No one could believe what they were seeing. Chancellor, the communications officer said quietly, the unknown fleet is broadcasting again. The translation is complete. Put it through, Virasol ordered. A new voice filled the chamber. It was strong, confident, and speaking in perfect Council standard. This is Fleet Admiral Chen of the United Terran Systems. We have been gone a long time. We have been sealed away, waiting for this moment. The precursors built us for this purpose, to stop the Devourers, to protect the galaxy. The voice paused. We are humanity, and we would like to talk. The holographic display showed the Rift sector. In real time, they watched as the ancient seal began to crack. 50,000 years of precursor engineering was breaking apart. Energy output is exceeding all known scales, Keston reported. Space itself is tearing open. Whatever the precursors locked away, it is coming through. General Thokmar stared at the display. Chancellor, we have Devourer fleets coming from one direction and an unknown threat emerging from the Rift. We cannot fight on two fronts. Virasol felt her crystalline structure growing cold. This was it, the end of everything. 300 years of war, only to be destroyed by something even worse. Chancellor, a communications officer spoke up. We are receiving long-range sensor data from the Rift sector. Ships are coming through, thousands of them. Devourer ships? Thokmar asked. No, sir. The design is completely unknown. Not in any of our databases. Not Devourer. Not Council. Not anything we have ever seen before. The main hologram updated. It showed the ships emerging from the Rift. They were massive, angular, built for war, and there were tens of thousands of them. Formation analysis, Virasol ordered. Perfect military formation, the tactical officer replied. Precise to the centimeter. This is not a random fleet. This is an armada. Keston was working frantically at his station. Energy signatures are off the scale. A single one of those ships produces more power than our entire defense fleet combined. Are they hostile? Someone asked. We have to assume they are, General Thakmar said. The precursors sealed them away for a reason. Prepare all weapons. If they make any aggressive move, we fire. But the unknown fleet did not move. They held their formation, neither advancing nor retreating. Just waiting. Communications, Virasol said. Are they transmitting anything? Yes, Chancellor. Multiple broadcasts on all frequencies. The language is unknown. Translation algorithms are working on it now. Kesathin plugged his systems directly into the translation network. His species was good at patterns, good at languages. He studied the alien transmissions. I have something, he said after a moment. One word keeps repeating. The algorithms have a partial translation. The word is humanity. Humanity? Virasol had never heard that word before. What does it mean? Before Kesathin could answer, every alarm in the war room began screaming at once. The holographic display showed the Devourer fleets. They had detected the new arrivals, and they were doing something impossible. They were retreating. All 15 Devourer fleets turned away from Sanctum Prime. They were not just pulling back. They were running, fleeing at maximum speed. That is impossible, General Thakmar said. The Devourers do not retreat. They have never retreated, not in 300 years. They are broadcasting, the communications officer said. Chancellor, you need to hear this. The hive mind's voice filled the chamber. For the first time in recorded history, the Devourers were sending a message that was not a threat. It was a warning. The sealed ones have returned. Genetic memory confirms retreat, 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 the sealed ones, whatever that meant. It terrified the Devourers more than anything else in the galaxy. Across all Council space, Devourer forces began a full withdrawal. Ships that had been sieging worlds for years suddenly broke off their attacks. Invasion forces retreated. Battle lines collapsed. The war room was silent. No one could believe what they were seeing. Chancellor, the communications officer said quietly, the unknown fleet is broadcasting again. The translation is complete. Put it through, Virasol ordered. A new voice filled the chamber. It was strong, confident, and speaking in perfect council standard. This is Fleet Admiral Chen of the United Terran Systems. We have been gone a long time. We have been sealed away, waiting for this moment. The precursors built us for this purpose, to stop the Devourers, to protect the galaxy. The voice paused. We are humanity, and we would like to talk. The rift tore open like a wound in reality itself. Space twisted and bent in ways that made the Council's sensors scream with warnings. Energy readings climbed past every known measurement. Colors that had no names bled through the fabric of existence. Kesathin watched his displays with a mixture of fear and wonder. His entire life had been spent studying space and energy. He thought he understood how the universe worked. But this was something else entirely. The spatial distortion is expanding, he reported. The seal the precursors built is completely gone. Whatever was holding the rift closed for 50,000 years just stopped working. Virasol stood perfectly still, her crystalline body reflecting the chaos on every screen. Around her, the war room had descended into controlled panic. Officers shouted orders. Ships scrambled to new positions. Everyone was trying to prepare for something they could not understand. How many ships have come through? She asked. Counting is difficult, a tactical officer replied. They keep coming. Current estimate is 40,000 vessels. No, 50,000. The number is still climbing. 50,000 ships. The entire Council defense fleet numbered less than 10,000. And these unknown vessels were larger, more powerful, purpose-built for destruction. General Thakmar was studying the formations. His military training told him everything he needed to know. These were not explorers. These were not refugees. This was an invasion force, Chancellor. We must assume hostile intent, he said. We should mobilize every available ship to intercept them before they advance further into Council space. Wait. Kesathin's voice cut through the noise. They are not advancing. Look at their formation. They have not moved since coming through the rift. They are just waiting. It was true. The massive fleet held position in perfect formation. Not a single ship broke ranks. Not a single vessel moved toward Council space. They simply floated there like a storm that had not yet decided where to strike. Energy signatures? Virasol asked. Kesathin checked his readings 3 times before answering. He could not believe what he was seeing. Their weapon systems are cold, not charging, not powered up. If they wanted to attack, their weapons would be hot. That makes no sense, Thokmar said. Why bring an armada through a dimensional rift and then not use it? Before anyone could answer, the communications officer called out again. Chancellor, the Devourer fleets are still withdrawing. All of them. Every single fleet in Council space is retreating at maximum speed. The holographic display updated to show the galactic situation. Red markers representing Devourer forces were pulling back from every front. Worlds they had been attacking for years were suddenly free. Battle lines that had not moved in decades were collapsing. It was impossible. The Devourers did not retreat. They did not show fear. They were a hive mind designed for one purpose, to consume and grow. Fear was not in their nature, but they were afraid now. We are receiving another transmission from the Devourer hive mind, the communications officer said. It is broadcasting on all frequencies. They want us to hear this. The voice of the hive mind filled the war room. It was usually cold and mechanical, but now there was something else in it. Something that sounded almost like terror. Genetic memory confirms identity. The sealed ones, the weapon species, created by the precursors as their final defense. We remember. Our ancestors remember. They were sealed away for being too dangerous, too violent, too effective. The transmission continued. We withdraw from all Council territory. We accept territorial boundaries. We will not advance. Do not release them upon us, please. Do not release them. Then the transmission cut off. The war room was silent. No one knew what to say. The Devourers were begging. The enemy that had killed trillions was asking for mercy from something they called the weapon species. Chancellor, Kesthin said softly, the unknown fleet is broadcasting again. The translation is complete now. You need to hear this, Virasol nodded. Her entire world had turned upside down in the last hour. What was one more impossible thing? A new voice came through the speakers. It was calm, professional, and speaking perfect Council standard as if it had been speaking the language for centuries. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Terran Systems. First, we apologize for the dramatic entrance. We did not have much control over when the seal would break. The precursors set it to open automatically when Devourer expansion reached critical levels. The Admiral paused, as if choosing her words carefully. We are humans. We know this word means nothing to you. You have never heard of us before. That is because we have been gone for a very long time. 50,000 years by your counting. The precursors sealed us away in a pocket dimension before they vanished. They left us instructions. They told us why. Virasol found her voice. Why did they seal you away? There was a long pause before the human admiral answered. Because we were too good at war. The precursors detected the proto-devourer threat long before it became what you face today. They knew that someday the galaxy would need a species designed specifically to fight them, so they took us and locked us away. They gave us time to develop, to prepare, to become the weapon they needed. The Council observation ships arrived at System J447 2 hours before the human fleet. They took up positions at maximum safe distance, their sensors pointed at the doomed system. Doomed. That was the only word for it. 3 trillion Devourers lived on that world. The system had defense stations, orbital weapons, breeding ships in constant production. The Council had tried to take it back 3 times. Each time they lost thousands of ships and achieved nothing. Now the humans were coming with just 2,000 ships. It seemed like suicide. Back on Sanctum Prime, every screen in the war room showed the approaching battle. Virasol stood at the center watching. General Thokmar was beside her. Kesthin monitored every sensor reading. The entire Council leadership had gathered to witness this moment. They were about to learn exactly what humanity could do. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They did not slow down. They did not pause. They simply formed up into attack formations and accelerated toward the planet. Devourer forces are responding, a tactical officer reported. 5,000 defense platforms, 300 orbital stations, 15,000 patrol ships. They are moving to intercept. The Devourers outnumbered the humans 7-1. On every previous battle, those odds would mean certain victory for the hive mind. Human fleet is engaging, the officer said. Weapons fire detected. The first human weapons lit up the darkness of space. They were not like Council weapons. They were something else entirely. Keston watched the sensor data with growing disbelief. Those weapons, they are specifically designed to counter devourer adaptations. Look at this. Biodisruptor fields that break hive mind connections, quantum shearing torpedoes that prevent their rapid cellular division, sonic resonance cannons tuned to the exact frequency of their exoskeletons. Every weapon targets a specific devourer weakness, General Thokmar said slowly. This is not improvisation. This is precision. They planned for this exact enemy. On the displays, devourer ships began to die. Not slowly. Not gradually. They simply ceased to exist. One moment a patrol craft was there, the next it was gone. Turned to dust by weapons that understood exactly how to kill it. The defense platforms fired back. Massive energy beams that could punch through council shields like paper. The humans did not even try to dodge. Their shields absorbed the hits and held. The platforms fired again. And again. The shields flickered but never failed. Their shield technology is centuries ahead of ours, Keston reported. The devourers cannot penetrate it. The human fleet split into 3 groups. One group went for the defense platforms. Another targeted the orbital stations. The third headed directly for the planet itself. The battle was not a battle. It was an execution. Defense platforms exploded in chains of fire. Orbital stations were cut apart by precision strikes. Devourer ships died by the hundreds, by the thousands. The hive mind tried to adapt. It tried to change tactics. But every move it made, the humans had already prepared for. Time elapsed. 1 hour. The tactical officer said. Human casualties, 0. Devourer casualties, approximately 40% of defending forces. Virasol could not believe what she was seeing. In 1 hour, the humans had done what the Council could not do in 15 years. They had broken the Devourer defenses, but they were not done. The third group of human ships reached the planet. They did not bomb it from orbit. Instead, they deployed something else. Thousands of small craft launched from the capital ships. Dropships. Ground assault vehicles, they are landing ground forces, General Thokmar said. On a breeding world. With 3 trillion devourers, that is suicide. But the humans knew something the Council did not. The ground forces deployed weapons that spread through the atmosphere. Chemical agents, biological disruptors, things that specifically targeted devourer biology. Keston watched the readings change. The hive mind connection is breaking down. The devourers on the surface are losing coordination. They are becoming individuals again. Without the hive mind, devourers were just animals. Dangerous animals, but animals nonetheless. And the humans hunted them like animals. Time elapsed. 3 hours, the tactical officer reported. The planet is secure. Remaining devourer forces are scattered and disorganized. Human forces are establishing control. 3 hours. The Council had fought for 15 years and lost. The humans had won in 3 hours. Final casualty report, the officer continued. Human losses, 47 ships damaged, 4 destroyed. Personnel losses, approximately 12,000. Devourer losses, total. The system is liberated. The war room was silent. 12,000 human dead sounded like a lot. Until you remembered that 3 trillion devourers had died. Until you remembered that the Council had lost millions trying to take this same system. A communication came through from Admiral Chen. Her hologram appeared in the center of the war room. She looked tired but satisfied. System J447 is yours again, Chancellor Virasol. We will maintain a garrison until your forces can take over. Consider this a demonstration of our capabilities and our intentions. We are not here to conquer. We are here to help. Virasol found her voice. Admiral Chen, what you just accomplished? The Council has been fighting this war for 300 years. How did you do this so easily? The Admiral's expression grew serious. It was not easy, Chancellor. We lost 12,000 people today. Each one of them had families, friends, lives they will never get to live. War is never easy. But we were prepared. We have been preparing for 500,000 years. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. The precursors gave us everything we needed to fight the devourers. Complete biological data, psychological profiles, weakness analysis. Then they gave us time. Time to develop counters for every devourer adaptation. Time to build weapons specifically designed to kill them. Time to train for this exact scenario. You were made into weapons, General Thokmar said. It was not a question. Yes, Admiral Chen admitted. The precursors took our species and turned us into something designed for one purpose. To stop the Devourers. Everything about our civilization has been focused on that goal. Our technology, our military, our culture. We are weapons. That is what we were made to be. And now that you have proven yourselves, Virasol asked carefully, what do you want? To join you, the Admiral said simply. The precursors sealed us away because they feared we were too dangerous for peaceful coexistence. But they also enhanced us in another way. They amplified our empathy, our ability to bond with other species, our drive to protect. She gestured to something off-screen. We have spent 500,000 years preparing for this moment. Not just preparing to fight, preparing to integrate, to join galactic society, to prove that we can be trusted. You will understand if we remain cautious, Virasol said. Of course. We would be insulted if you were not. That is why we propose a 50-year integration period. We will help rebuild the systems the Devourers destroyed. We will share our non-military technology, medical advances, agricultural improvements, energy production. We will prove through our actions that we are allies, not conquerors. Keston had been reviewing historical data. Chancellor, there is something you should know. The precursor records I found, there is more to them. The precursors did not just fear the Devourers. They feared something else. Something worse. Admiral Chen's expression changed. Scholar Keston, I see you have been doing your research. You are correct. There is something worse. The Devourers were not the main threat. They were scouts. Advance forces for something far more dangerous. What do you mean? Virasol demanded. The precursors fought a war before they vanished, the Admiral explained. Against beings they called the Harvesters. Entities from another dimension that consume entire civilizations. The Devourers are evolutionary descendants of Harvester bioweapons. The precursors defeated the Harvesters in this reality and sealed the dimensional rifts. But the seals were always temporary. How temporary? General Thokmar asked. Admiral Chen looked directly at the camera. Our long-range sensors detected multiple rift signatures forming beyond the galactic rim. The Harvesters are coming. The precursors knew this would happen. That is why they created us. The Devourers were just training. The real war has not even started yet. The war room erupted in chaos. Officers shouted questions. Council members demanded explanations. Virasol raised her hand for silence, and slowly the noise died down. Admiral, she said quietly, why did you not tell us this immediately? Because you needed to see what we could do first. You needed to know that when the Harvesters come, you will not be alone. The precursors created us to protect the galaxy, all of it, not just humanity. We take that responsibility seriously. Virasol looked around the room. She saw fear, but she also saw determination. The Council species had survived 300 years of war with the Devourers. They could survive this too. Very well, she said. We will hold a formal Council vote on your integration proposal. But I believe I can predict the outcome. Welcome to the galactic community, Admiral Chen. Welcome home, humanity. The Admiral smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. Thank you, Chancellor. We have been away for a long time. It is good to finally come home. The transmission ended. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Keston said quietly, Chancellor, I am detecting something on long-range sensors. Multiple spatial anomalies forming at the galactic edge. The Admiral was right. Something is coming. Virasol looked at the display. Far beyond Council space, beyond even Devourer territory, new rifts were opening. Dozens of them. Each one releasing energy signatures that made the Devourer threat look small by comparison. How long do we have? She asked. At current rate of expansion, 6 months. Maybe less, 6 months. The Council had just ended a 300-year war, and now they faced something even worse. But this time they would not face it alone. This time, they had humanity. General Thokmar stepped forward. Chancellor, we should begin immediate military integration. If these Harvesters are as dangerous as the Admiral claims, we will need every advantage we can get. Agreed, Virasol said. Mobilize all forces. Begin coordination with Human Military Command, and send a message to every Council world. Tell them the war with the Devourers is over, but a new war is about to begin. Tell them we will fight together, Council and humanity, united against a common threat. She looked at the display showing the human fleet, 50,000 ships built for war, an entire species designed to protect the galaxy. The precursors had planned well. We have 6 months to prepare, she said. Let us make them count. 3 weeks after the Battle of System J447, Chancellor Virasol stood aboard the human flagship. The ship was called Indomitable, and it lived up to its name. The vessel was massive, powerful, and filled with technology that made Council engineering look primitive. Admiral Chen had invited the Council leadership for a formal meeting. Not a holographic conference. A face-to-face discussion aboard a human warship. It was a gesture of trust, or a demonstration of power, perhaps both. Virasol walked through the corridors with General Thokmar and Scholar Kesthin beside her. Human crew members moved past them with efficient purpose. They nodded politely to the alien visitors but did not stop their work. Everyone aboard this ship had a job to do. The humans themselves were fascinating. They were bipedal, like several Council species. But there was something different about them. Something in the way they moved, alert, ready, like predators that never truly relaxed. Admiral Chen met them in a large conference room. She was shorter than Virasol had expected. Humans were not physically imposing creatures. But when the Admiral spoke, everyone listened. "Welcome aboard Indomitable," Chen said. "I hope the journey was comfortable." "Your hospitality has been excellent," Virasol replied. She gestured to the walls around them. "This ship is remarkable. Our best engineers have been studying your designs. They say it will take decades to understand half of what you have built. We will share what we can," the Admiral said. "But first, we need to be honest with each other. There are things about humanity that you need to know. Things the precursors documented, things that explain why they sealed us away." She activated a holographic display. It showed images of Earth, the human homeworld. Beautiful blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. "This is where we come from," Chen said. "A world that evolved aggressive species, predator species. Humanity developed in an environment where survival meant constant competition. We learned to hunt, to fight, to win at any cost. The hologram changed to show human history, wars, conflicts, weapons development spanning thousands of years. The precursors found us 50,000 years ago," the Admiral continued. "We were already spacefaring, already expanding, already looking for new worlds to colonize. They studied us extensively, and they realized we had certain characteristics." General Thokmar leaned forward. "What kind of characteristics?" "Extreme pack bonding," Chen said. "Humans form emotional attachments easily, not just to other humans, to other species, to animals, to ideas. Once we bond with something, we will die to protect it." She gestured to another display. "Persistence hunting. Human ancestors would chase prey for days until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. We do not give up, ever. We apply this same mentality to warfare, to problem solving, to everything we do." "Pattern recognition," the Admiral continued. "Humans are exceptional at seeing patterns, at predicting what will happen next. In combat, this makes us dangerous. We can anticipate enemy movements before they happen." Kesthin studied the data. "The precursors saw you as a threat to galactic stability." "Yes," Chen admitted. "Their psychological profile concluded that humanity would either unite the galaxy through cooperation or destroy it through conquest. We were unpredictable, dangerous, and we had one more trait that worried them." "What was that?" Virasol asked. "Weaponization," the Admiral said quietly. "Humans can turn almost anything into a weapon. Give us any technology and we will find a way to weaponize it. It is not malicious. It is just how our minds work. We see tools and we see potential weapons." She looked directly at Virasol. "The precursors concluded that if humanity joined the galactic community in our natural state, we would destabilize everything. Wars would break out. Alliances would crumble. The peaceful cooperation they had built would collapse. So they sealed you away," General Thokmar said, "to protect the rest of us." "Initially, yes," Chen agreed. "But then they detected the proto-devourer threat. They realized the galaxy would eventually face an enemy that required violence to defeat. An enemy that could only be stopped by a species designed for war. So they changed their plan. The hologram showed the precursor seal, the pocket dimension where humanity had been trapped. They sealed us away not to protect you from us," the Admiral said. "They sealed us away to prepare us, to give us time to develop, to turn us into the ultimate weapon against the devourers, and to make one critical modification." "What modification?" Kesthin asked. "They enhanced our empathy," Chen said. "They took our natural pack bonding instinct and amplified it. Made it stronger, made it apply to all intelligent species, not just humans. We are still warriors. We are still dangerous. But now we have an overwhelming drive to protect others, to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good. She paused, letting that sink in. The precursors turned us into weapons, she said, but they also turned us into protectors. We are aggressive, yes. We are dangerous, yes. But we channel that aggression toward defending those who cannot defend themselves. Firazol considered this carefully. So you are saying we should trust you because the precursors programmed you to protect us? No, Chen said firmly. You should trust us because we have had 500,000 years to prove ourselves. Inside our sealed dimension, we built entire civilizations. We developed cultures. We created art and music and literature. We had our own conflicts and our own wars. But we also learned to work together, to sacrifice for each other, to value life. She brought up more data. We knew that eventually the seal would break. We knew we would return to the galaxy. We spent millennia preparing for that moment. Not just preparing to fight, preparing to integrate. We studied your cultures from the records the precursors left us. We learned your languages. We developed protocols for peaceful interaction. And if we reject your integration? Thokmar asked. What then? Admiral Chen met his gaze steadily. Then we will withdraw to the edge of council space. We will establish our own territory. We will not force ourselves on you, but we will remain. And when the harvesters come, we will fight them whether you help us or not, because that is what we were made to do. Kestin had been analyzing all the data. Chancellor, I have cross-referenced everything Admiral Chen has told us with the precursor records I recovered. Everything matches. The psychological profile, the enhancement procedures, the purpose. The precursors were meticulous in their documentation. He looked at the Admiral. There is one thing I do not understand. The precursors feared you would destabilize the galaxy, but they also enhanced you to protect it. Was this not a contradiction? Not a contradiction, Chen said. A calculated risk. The precursors realized that the galaxy faced two possible futures. Either the Devourers would destroy everything or humanity would. They chose the future where at least there was a chance for survival. And they built in safeguards. What safeguards? Firazol asked. The empathy enhancement was not just to make us nicer, the Admiral explained. It was to make us vulnerable. We form emotional bonds now. We care about other species. We feel their pain. That makes us weaker in some ways. But it also makes us trustworthy, because if we hurt you, we hurt ourselves. She gestured to her crew. Every human on this ship has been trained from childhood to value all intelligent life, to see council species as equals, as allies, as friends. We are not conquerors. We are defenders. General Thokmar stood and walked to the window. Outside, the human fleet floated in perfect formation. You have shown us what you can do against the Devourers. But what about against us? If we went to war, who would win? The Admiral did not hesitate. We would. The Council could not defeat us. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your military doctrine is not designed for the kind of warfare we practice. In a direct conflict, we would win within weeks. The honesty was brutal, but it was also refreshing. But we will never find out, Chen continued. Because we will not fight you. We could have attacked the moment we came through the rift. Instead, we stopped the Devourers and offered peace. We could have demanded surrender. Instead, we asked to join you as equals. We are not here to rule. We are here to serve. Firazol made her decision. The Council will vote tomorrow on your integration proposal. I cannot guarantee the outcome, but I can tell you my own position. I believe the precursors knew exactly what they were doing. They created a weapon, but they also created guardians. And right now we need both. She looked at the Admiral. If the vote passes, what is your first priority? Preparation, Chen said immediately. The harvesters are coming. We have maybe 6 months. We need to integrate our forces, share technology, develop joint tactical protocols, and build defenses that can hold against an enemy that makes the Devourers look weak. She brought up a new display. It showed the galactic rim, multiple rift signatures, growing stronger by the day. The harvesters do not negotiate, the Admiral said. They do not retreat. They simply consume. Everything in their path becomes fuel for their dimensional engines. The precursors fought them for thousands of years before finally sealing them away. Now the seals are breaking, and we are the only thing standing between them and the entire galaxy. Kestin studied the readings. How powerful are these harvesters? Their technology is millions of years more advanced than ours, Chen said. A single harvester vessel could destroy our entire fleet. But they have a weakness. They are purely logical. They do not understand sacrifice. They do not understand fighting for something other than survival. That is where we have an advantage. What advantage? General Thokmar asked. They think like machines, the Admiral said. We think like living beings who care about each other. They calculate acceptable losses. We fight for every single life. They see the galaxy as resources. We see it as home. That difference, Chancellor, is what will save us. The meeting continued for several more hours. Admiral Chen shared tactical data, technology specifications, strategic plans. By the end, Virasol felt both terrified and hopeful. As they prepared to leave, the Admiral stopped them. Chancellor, there is one more thing you should know. About why the precursors really sealed us away. What is that? Virasol asked. They did not fear we were too violent for the galaxy, Chen said quietly. They feared we were not violent enough. They looked at humanity and saw potential, but they also saw that we might hesitate, that we might try to negotiate, that we might show mercy when mercy would doom us all. She looked directly at the Chancellor. So they hardened us. They gave us 500,000 years to learn that sometimes violence is the only answer, that sometimes mercy kills more than cruelty, that sometimes to protect the innocent you must become a monster. The Admiral's expression was grim. The precursors did not create weapons, Chancellor. They created protectors who understood the cost of protection, who knew that defending life sometimes means taking it, who would sacrifice themselves, sacrifice their humanity to save everyone else. Virasol felt her crystalline body grow cold. You are saying the precursors turned you into something that frightens even yourselves? Yes, Chen said simply. And we accept that burden, because someone must. When the harvesters come, you will need us to be monsters. You will need us to do things that peaceful species cannot do, things that will haunt us for generations. But we will do them, because that is what we were made for. The return journey to Sanctum Prime was quiet. Everyone was lost in their own thoughts. Finally, as they approached the fortress world, General Thokmar spoke. Chancellor, I have fought the Devourers for 30 years. I have seen friends die, worlds burn, children consumed, and I never hesitated to kill them. But the humans, they have killed far more than I ever have. Yet they seem to feel each death. How is that possible? Virasol thought about it. Perhaps that is what makes them different. We fight because we must. They fight because they choose to. Every death weighs on them, but they carry that weight anyway. Then they truly are guardians, Keston said, not because they do not feel, but because they feel everything and fight anyway. The next day the council voted. It was not unanimous. Some members feared humanity's power, others questioned their motives. But in the end, the vote passed. Humanity was officially integrated into the Galactic Council, and just in time, because deep in space beyond the galactic rim, the first harvester ships were beginning to emerge. The harvesters came in silence, no warnings, no declarations, no demands. 3 solar systems simply went dark. One moment they were there. The next moment, nothing, no stars, no planets, no life, just empty space where billions had lived. The war room on Sanctum Prime erupted in chaos. Officers shouted reports. Screens showed the impossible. 3 entire star systems erased from existence. Energy signatures detected, Keston reported. His gaseous form pulsed with distress. They match precursor records. The harvesters have arrived. Virasol felt fear unlike anything she had experienced before. The Devourers had been terrifying, but they were understandable. They consumed planets slowly. They left ruins behind. These harvesters were something else. They did not consume. They erased. They turned entire solar systems into nothing. Get me Admiral Chen, she ordered. The Admiral's hologram appeared within seconds. She looked tired. Chancellor, we detected it. The harvesters have begun their assault. How many systems have they hit? 3 so far. All on the galactic rim, all completely destroyed. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. That matches the precursor records. The harvesters test defenses first. They probe for weaknesses. Then they commit their full forces. We have perhaps 12 hours before the main assault begins. 12 hours. General Thokmar stepped forward. That is not enough time to evacuate. Not enough time to prepare. We need more time. We do not get more time, Chen said. The harvesters do not give second chances. We fight now with what we have. or we lose everything. Virasol looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was already moving. 50,000 ships accelerating toward the galactic rim. The Council fleet followed. 10,000 ships, smaller, weaker, but determined. "What are your orders, Admiral?" she asked. "Full military integration. Immediately. Council ships will form defensive lines. You will protect the core systems. Human forces will engage the harvesters directly. We will buy you time to evacuate civilians and establish fallback positions." "You cannot fight them alone," Thokmar protested. "Even with your technology, you will be overwhelmed." "We know," Admiral Chen said quietly. "But that is what we were made for. The precursors created us to be the shield, to stand between the darkness and the light, to sacrifice ourselves so others can live." She looked directly at Virasol. "Chancellor, the Council species are peaceful. You build, you create, you nurture life. That is beautiful. That is worth protecting. But fighting the harvesters requires something you cannot give. It requires warriors who have spent 500,000 years preparing to die." The transmission ended. The human fleet continued its advance. Every ship moving toward certain death. "No," Virasol said suddenly. "No. We will not let them do this alone." General Thokmar looked at her. "Chancellor, our ships are not designed for this kind of warfare. We will only slow them down." "Then we slow them down," Virasol said firmly. "But we stand together. The humans have sacrificed for us already. Now it is our turn to sacrifice for them. Send the order. Full fleet advance. We fight beside humanity." Kestin looked up from his displays. "Chancellor, I am detecting something unusual. The humans are broadcasting a new signal. It is a neural interface protocol. They are offering to link our minds together." "What does that mean?" Thokmar asked. "It means they are sharing their tactical network with us," Kestin said. "If we connect, we will be able to coordinate at speeds impossible through normal communication. We will think together, fight together, act as one unified force." Virasol did not hesitate. "Connect us. Every ship, every mind. If we are going to do this, we do it together." The connection happened in an instant. Suddenly Virasol could feel millions of minds linked together. Human minds, Valar minds, Thren minds, Koltari minds. Every species in the Council and humanity, all thinking as one. The sensation was overwhelming. She could feel Admiral Chen's determination, General Thokmar's courage, Kestin's curiosity, and beneath it all millions of human minds united in one single purpose: protect the galaxy. The empathy network. Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the connection. The precursor's final gift to us. When they enhanced our empathy, they gave us the ability to share it, to link minds across species, to fight as one being with billions of bodies. The combined fleet reached the galactic rim, and there, waiting for them, were the harvesters. They were massive. Each ship was larger than a planet. Black metal that absorbed light, weapons that bent reality, shields that existed in multiple dimensions. The precursor records had not exaggerated. These beings were 50 million years more advanced than anything in the galaxy. 3 harvester vessels detected, Kestin reported. Through the neural network, everyone could feel his fear. Each one is generating enough energy to destroy 100 star systems. "All ships engage," Admiral Chen ordered. Through the network, the command reached every mind simultaneously. There was no delay, no confusion. The entire combined fleet moved as one. Human weapons opened fire first, the same biodisruptors and quantum-shearing torpedoes that had destroyed the Devourers. But the harvesters simply absorbed the attacks. Their shields did not even flicker. Council weapons followed. Energy beams, kinetic missiles, plasma cannons. Nothing worked. The harvesters were immune. Then the harvesters fired back. A beam of pure entropy hit the fleet. It did not destroy ships. It erased them, made them cease to have ever existed. 5,000 ships vanished in an instant, human and council alike. Through the neural network, everyone felt those deaths. 5 million minds, 5 million lives, gone in a heartbeat. But the fleet did not break. The neural network held. The pain of those deaths was distributed across billions of minds, shared, carried together. "Adapt," Admiral Chen commanded. Through the network, human minds began analyzing the harvester weapons. Pattern recognition working at impossible speeds. Millions of minds thinking as one. "There," Kestin said. "I see it. The entropy beam has a 1.3-second charge time. If we can predict where they will fire, we can move. Precognition protocol, Chen ordered. Use human pattern recognition. Predict their firing solutions. Move before they shoot. The fleet began to dance. The harvesters fired. But the ships were already moving, dodging weapons that moved at the speed of light. Because billions of minds working together could predict where those weapons would fire, it was not enough. The harvesters adapted. Their firing patterns became random, unpredictable. More ships died. Thousands. Tens of thousands. Through the neural network, Virasol felt every death. Human crews burning in their ships. Council soldiers suffocating in the void. But she also felt their courage, their determination, their refusal to surrender. We cannot win this, General Thokmar said through the network. They are too powerful, too advanced. We are losing. Then we lose together, Admiral Chen replied. But we do not stop fighting. Never. That is what makes us different from the harvesters. They calculate acceptable losses. We fight for every single life, even when we know we cannot win. And suddenly, Virasol understood. The precursors had not created humanity to win. They had created them to never surrender, to fight even when fighting was hopeless, to inspire others to do the same. There is a weakness, Kesthin said suddenly. I have been analyzing the harvester technology through the network. They are purely logical. They optimize everything, including their shields. But optimization creates predictable patterns. Patterns we can exploit. What patterns? Chen asked. Their shields adjust based on incoming threats. If we hit them with coordinated strikes from multiple angles at the exact same moment, they cannot adapt fast enough. For 0.003 seconds, there will be a gap, a moment of vulnerability. 0.003 of a second, Thokmar said. That is impossible. No force can coordinate that precisely. We can, Admiral Chen said. Through the neural network. We are all thinking together. We can fire together, perfectly synchronized, across 50,000 remaining ships. Through the network, the plan formed. Every ship, every weapon, every mind calculating angles and timing. The empathy network was not just for sharing emotions. It was for sharing thoughts, for achieving coordination beyond anything technology could provide. On my mark, Admiral Chen said. Every weapon. Maximum power. Strike point Alpha on the nearest harvester vessel. We have one chance. 3, 2, 1, fire. 50,000 ships fired as one. Billions of minds acting as a single consciousness. The coordination was perfect. Down to the nanosecond, every weapon hit the same point at the exact same instant. For 0.003 of a second, the harvester shields failed. It was enough. The combined firepower of the entire fleet punched through the gap. It hit the harvester vessel's core. And for the first time in 50 million years, a harvester ship died. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. When it cleared, one harvester vessel was gone. But 2 remained. And they were adapting, already adjusting their shields to prevent the same attack. Again, Chen ordered. Different strike points. Different timing. They adapt, we adapt faster. The fleet attacked again, this time hitting 2 harvester ships simultaneously. Different angles. Different timing. Synchronized through billions of linked minds, both ships died. The battle was over. 3 harvester vessels destroyed. But the cost was staggering. 40% of the human fleet was gone. 60% of the council fleet. Millions dead. Through the neural network, Virasol felt every loss. Every death. Human and council minds vanishing from the collective consciousness. It hurt worse than anything she had ever experienced. But they had won. Long-range sensors are detecting movement, Kesthin reported. The remaining harvester ships are withdrawing. They are closing the dimensional rifts. They are retreating. Admiral Chen's voice was barely a whisper through the network. They retreated because they faced something they could not understand. Unified consciousness, billions of individuals willing to sacrifice for each other. They are machines. They cannot comprehend that, and what they cannot comprehend, they cannot defeat. The Admiral's ship had taken heavy damage. Medical teams were working frantically. Through the network, Virasol could feel Chen's pain. Critical injuries. Minutes left, Admiral, Virasol said. Hold on, help is coming. No need, Chen said. Through the network, her thoughts were clear. She was not afraid. Not regretful. Just satisfied. This is what we were made for. To stand between the darkness and those who create light. We fulfilled our purpose. You did more than that, Virasol said. You showed us what we could be, what we could achieve together. Admiral Sarah Chen smiled. Her last thoughts echoed through the neural network. Thoughts of pride, of hope, of peace. And tell them, she said. Tell everyone. The precursors were right. Humanity's darkness is what allows us to protect the light. Our willingness to become monsters is what keeps everyone else from having to. We are the shield. Always. Forever. Then she was gone. The neural network held for a moment longer. Then gently it began to dissolve. Minds separating. Returning to individual consciousness. But something had changed. Every being who had been part of that connection was different now. They had experienced unity. They had felt what it meant to truly be one. The weeks that followed were difficult. Humanity rebuilt. The Council rebuilt. Together they created new defenses, new weapons, new strategies for when the harvesters returned. Because everyone knew they would return, but they would face them together. On Earth, humanity's homeworld, a memorial was built. It listed every species, every ship, every life lost in both wars, the Devourer War and the First Harvester Incursion. Millions of names, billions of stories. At the center of the memorial stood a crystal pillar, Valor-made, inscribed in every galactic language. Here stood humanity. Here stood everyone. Here we stood together. Chancellor Virasol visited the memorial on its opening day. She touched the crystal pillar and remembered Admiral Chen. Remembered the feeling of billions of minds united. Remembered what they had accomplished together. General Thokmar stood beside her. The precursors knew what they were doing. They created weapons, yes, but they also created something more important. They created hope. Keston floated nearby, his gaseous form peaceful. My research into precursor records is complete. I found their final message. It was hidden in the deepest archives. Would you like to hear it? Virasol nodded. Keston projected the message. Ancient precursor text, translated into Council Standard. To our children across the stars, to the species we leave behind, we have done something terrible. We have created weapons from living beings. We have turned a peaceful species into warriors. We have condemned them to carry the burden of violence so others do not have to. We are sorry. We had no choice. The darkness is coming. The harvesters cannot be reasoned with, cannot be negotiated with, can only be fought, and someone must do the fighting. We chose humanity because they had the capacity for both violence and love, for both destruction and protection, for both war and peace. We enhanced them, shaped them, prepared them, but we also gave them a gift, the ability to share their burden, to connect with others, to never fight alone, because the greatest weapon against the darkness is not technology, not power, not strength, it is unity, standing together, protecting each other. That is what will save you. Not humanity's weapons, not their ships, not their technology, but their willingness to sacrifice everything for others, and your willingness to stand beside them. We are gone, but humanity remains. Use them wisely. Protect them, because they are the shield that protects the galaxy, and shields must be cared for or they will shatter. Farewell. May you survive what we could not. The message ended. For a moment no one spoke. Then Virasol looked up at the sky. In orbit, the combined fleet maintained eternal watch. Human ships and council ships flying together. A unified defense force. Because deep in space, beyond the galactic edge, sensors detected new activity. More rifts forming. The harvesters would return. They always did. But this time, the galaxy had its weapons. They were called humanity. And they would never stand alone again. Years later, a young human child asked her grandmother about the wars. The old woman smiled and pointed to the memorial. We were made to fight, she said. The precursors shaped us into weapons. But they also gave us something more important. They gave us purpose. We fight so others do not have to. We carry the darkness so others can live in the light. That is what it means to be human. Does it hurt? The child asked. Every day, the grandmother admitted. Every death weighs on us. Every battle scars us. But we carry it together, humanity and the Council. All of us sharing the burden. She looked at the crystal pillar. Admiral Chen's name was there, along with millions of others. We are the shield, the grandmother said, and shields do not break. They endure. For everyone, forever. Above them, in the peaceful blue sky of Earth, ships passed overhead. Human ships, Velar ships, Thran ships, Koltari ships, all flying together, all protecting together. The true war was just beginning. But the galaxy was ready, because they had humanity, and humanity had them.